Good morning, and thanks for joining our webinar today. We're going to be talking about product data management, what it is and what it does for you. I've titled this Data at the Center. It's all about the data. So we'll get started. So I'm Kimberly Hendrix. I'm a solutions consultant with D3 Technologies. I'm considered a subject matter expert when it comes to data management and Autodesk Vault. Our agenda today, we're going to talk about what is PDM, why is PDM important, what is Vault, that's our answer for PDM, what is the Vault feature set both in the engineering side and on the enterprise side, and then so what does that mean for me? So what is PDM? We use PDM, we use Autodesk Vault for product data management, and this definition I pulled from Wikipedia because I kind of like some of the things it said. The goals of product data management include ensuring that all stakeholders share a common understanding. So notice common is bolded, a common understanding, and that confusion during the execution of the process is minimized. Whatever your process is, we want to make sure that all stakeholders share a common understanding and that as much confusion as possible is eliminated or minimized during your processes. And that is the highest standards of quality and control are maintained. So with that, let's talk about what we think it is. So why is it important? Product data management is important because it manages it's the software that manages the data that the designers and engineers organize. It manages the documentation, it tracks the revisions, and it does other development processes. It's the basis. It's the bottom of the, when you put up that fake Christmas tree and the bottom rung, that's the big one. You can't put the rest of it up until you put that bottom rung up. So that's the basis. It's also another analogy I saw recently is an apple tree. Think of an apple tree, and there's all this apple fruit on the top of it, and that fruit, that's your Inventor software, your CAD software, even your SolidWorks software, whatever AutoCAD drafting software you had, that's the fruit. That's how you produce the stuff. But what holds all that together? What's the foundation? In the roots, we have the product data management or Vault, product lifecycle management, Fusion Lifecycle, ERP systems. That's your foundation. That's what holds everything together and makes sure that everybody is communicating on the same page. The image you see on the screen is a screenshot of what Vault looks like. And we have just the general layout folders, kind of looks like your Windows Explorer. Inside of a folder, when I click on one, it shows me what's in it. When I click on a file, it shows me everything that Vault or the SQL Server knows about that product. So here's your properties on the side of it. This work list is engineering change orders that are required for you. And the shortcuts are just that, like a desktop shortcut. So let's talk about how does it work? How does Vault work in the background? In my world, if I know the basis, again, that foundation, then the rest of it kind of makes sense. So Vault consists of three main parts. There's more to it, but three main parts. The Vault server, we refer to as an ADMS server. The file store, that's the file cabinet where all your data is stored, albeit hidden in Vault, and you can't get to it through that network file share. It's still on a network file share of some kind. And then your SQL Server, that's the brains behind it. That's where all the metadata, it's where all the history is stored. That's the brains of our system. And then you have your client, and he's got the applications on his computer, the fruit, right? Inventor, AutoCAD, and the Vault client. So he needs to work on a file. So he says, hey, Vault, I need information about this file. Vault says, cool. SQL, what do you know about this file? SQL says, well, here's everything I know about it. Remember that screen I showed you of this of the Vault? Here's everything I know about this Vault. Here's its history. Here's its preview. Here's its BOM. Here's all its titles. It's everything I know about it. Our happy user says, great, that's the file I need. So he checks it out. And that file gets copied down to his local workstation. He works on it. He does his changes. He checks it back in. It goes back to the file store. It's updated. A version is added. So user 2, he says, I need that same file. So he checks it out. He works on it a little while. He checks it back in. And they haven't overridden each other's work. You know when one's checked out and when it's checked back in. And the results of that are a table, versions and revisions. Versions are electronic iterations of a file. And revisions refer to your, whatever makes a revision in your process, right? So we define that based on your process. So if I've worked on Rev A and I've checked it in 2 or 3 times and I'm at Rev 7 because the customer or my boss said make these changes, and I get all the way to version 7 of Rev A, and he's like, I kind of like it the way it was last week. Well, without a product data management system or Vault, you might have to redraw that system or keep several copies of it. With Vault, you can say, hey, Vault, give me version 4 and make that my current version, and I can start from there. So you can go back in time. It's very handy. So, the feature set for engineering. There's a lot of features in Vault, and in our brief 30 minutes that we have, I'm going to go over just my top couple. The first thing that I want to talk about is data reuse. How often do you say, I got to do this project, and it's just like this project I did 2 years ago, except. So we have a functionality called copy design, and I created a little video. Let me pull it up here, and to run through that. So I take this assembly and I select copy design. My utility opens up, and there's all of its children. If it had parents, like a drawing, they would show up here as well. And I can make some choices. So I'm going to say I'm going to copy all of them, and then I'm going to say, on this straw, I'm going to reuse it, so I'm not going to copy it. Okay? And then I'm going to say where do I want to copy it to, and I can change my path. So I'm going to say copy to, and I'm going to go to my folder where it was, and I'm going to add another folder. We'll just call it webinar. And it'll create that folder for me on the fly. Notice it has an asterisk, so it hasn't actually created it yet. And I see I selected the straw, so I'm going to copy it, I guess, anyway. And then over here on the right, I get to do some numbering. I can use file numbering systems if I have them in place, or I can manually type in each one. There's prefixes, subjects, and suffixes, and base name. I'm going to change my prefix to make it web underscore. So it'll put, if you notice on the names over here, it puts web in front of everything. And then I'm going to use search and replace, or find and replace. And I'm going to take out the D3. If it has a D3 underscore on it, I'm just going to remove it. So let me drag this over where you can see it. I'm going to look for D3 underscore, and I'm just going to replace it with a space. Now I have my files named where I want. I have them going where I want to go. I'm using or reusing the ones I want. I hit execute copy. It does that server side. And it doesn't copy, use a bunch of network traffic. It does it server side. And when it's done, let me get rid of that video and show you the vault. It puts the files in my webinar folder, named the way I wanted, with all the parent-childs intact. Now I can just open this assembly and start from there, and all my parent-child relationships are intact. So that's my first feature set. So the second one is searching. You don't want to spend a lot of time looking for that file that you need because it's got an obscure description, or I remember that it had, it was like box was in the title, but I can't remember the name of the file or where I put it or even where I did it. Searching becomes most important. So I'm going to go up to the top of my vault, and in my quick search, I'm just going to type in box. I know it had something to do with the box. So what comes up is every file that has box in it, either in the name or in some selected properties. So if I go look at, let's just pick a random file here and see what property says box in it. Right here in description, Hewlin FDR box. So it found it. If it was in the description or the title or the file name, it found box. That's handy for a quick search. You can also do things like search content files if that's turned on. You can search actually the files in the words inside of a file, but that has to be turned on. It's by default turned off. The other searching capability is to do what we refer to as an advanced find. So that is right here, little binoculars, and it pulls up a dialog box, and I can look for different properties, and I can create an AND search. So I'm going to look for all files that were generated by let's see, the provider was Inventor, so all Inventor files. well, let's spell that right. Inventor. There we go. Add that. And whose visualization attachments, in other words, there's not a DWIF, is none. This is a handy search for administrators to find out which ones have visualization files. And it gives me 825 files that don't have DWIFs. That's the viewable file inside of Vault. So with that, I can work right from here, or I can save this search, or I can create a report on it. But let's save it. We'll say Inventor no DWIF, and I'll save it as a folder. Once I save that as a folder, it comes in my search folders. You can see I have this. So here's the one I just did, Inventor no DWIF, 825 files. Now I can execute things on this list. I can sit here and send all of these to my job server to have DWIFs created all at once. So I update that, and my job server, that's another machine that's working off in the background, will then kick off every 6 or 8 minutes or so, and it will run all those jobs, and I don't have to worry about it. Next time I come look at this list, I'll have 725 or how many ever less I did. So if I refresh this now, because my job process is probably running, you can see it's run a couple, so I only have 823. So searches are very powerful, very fast way to find your files. The next feature set is concurrent design. If we're working on a large assembly, say a fire truck or a work truck, and Susan's working on the cab and the tool sets in the cab, and Joe's working on the toolboxes in the back, they both need the full assembly to make sure that everything matches. But they can both work on their particular things at the same time because they only have to have their sub-assemblies checked out. And then when one of them checks it in, the other one gets notified inside their browser in Inventor that it's been updated, and they can right-click and update it from the Vault, and they get their current ones updated, and we're not stepping on each other's toes to make that happen. So concurrent design, that's a big one for large assemblies. And then collaboration beyond the firewall. Collaboration behind the firewall, there's several ways to do this, but I'm going to show you a very quick, it's called shared views. So I'm working on a design, I want this cup and straw to look good, but my boss needs to look at this and tell me, you know, what he wants changed, what he wants to do different. So we have something called shared views, and I can create this very quickly. So if I go right here, I can right click on this cup and straw and say shared view, and it will generate it real quick. And I've already done this, but when I do, it puts it right here, and I can send this link. I can send this link to whomever I need to. So let's view this in the browser, and it opens up. When they get it, this is exactly what they see, an Autodesk viewer. And if they're logged in, they can make comments and review the comments, and they can twirl it and look at the file. They can say, huh, you know, they can make comments, they can measure, they can type words on it, they can section it, they can do those kind of things, and then they can save their comments, and they show right back up in my browser right here. You can see that Nora put a comment in that said we need to work on this area. I put some circles around here. Nora put some more comments right here. So we can be collaborative without sharing my actual design data. You know, think about that for a minute. I'm not sharing CAD files. This is just a viewable file. They cannot create a CAD file out of it, and it lasts out on the cloud for 30 days unless I extend it. So you can see this one expires in 28 days. So, and there's a link right here if you want to look at it. If you want to take a screenshot of this link right here, you can go look at that file and view it and swirl it around and look at that cup and lid for yourself. So I'll give you just a second for that link right there. Okay, so let's move on to what this means for the enterprise. What are the feature sets that the enterprise can use? So the biggest one is advanced security. Now this kind of crosses a line between engineering and enterprise, in that it makes advanced security makes it possible for the right person to see the right file at the right time. It also controls things like revisions and things like that. Like you wouldn't want your manufacturing department or your purchasing department to see a file, a CAD file or drawing, when it was in work in progress. You're still working on it. I don't want them to order the wrong thing or an old version. So that becomes life cycles. And in this general life cycle scheme, we have work in progress, checking, released, obsolete, and quick change. In each one of these steps, I can control who can read to it, who can write to it, and who can delete it. Or maybe who cannot see it at all. So you can see while it's in work in progress, my management team has got read only. My designers and checkers have read write. My designers can delete it, but everyone else, they're denied. Same thing in my checking. I don't want them to see it. When it gets to release, everybody can see it read only. If I move it back to work in progress, following this green line right here, it's going to bump my revision and my designers can do it. Between checking and released, it's going to create a DWF file, the visualization file, and a PDF automatically for me and put it in the vault. So that's some of the advanced security features. We also have revision control. If you think back to that life cycle that I just showed you, when it was at released and I go back to work in progress, Vault automatically bumps the revision for me and will update my drawing for me, so that's one less thing I have to worry about. I can also, inside of that, control it with an engineering change order. So if I have an engineering change order on a file, I can control my life cycle so that if a designer wants to move it out of released where the manufacturer can see it, back in work in progress, I can say you can't do it unless it's controlled by an engineering change order. And I can control that electronically. Then I have more control, excuse me, over, let me show you an engineering change order and its status. I can see the status of it. Let me open it up bigger. I can see the status of that real time. This one's in open. It's not been submitted to work. I can see the routing list on who's supposed to be doing things on it. I can see the properties on it, what its values are, and I can see what files are associated with it. All electronically, all controlled, so I know where things are at, who's approved it, who's waiting for it. All those things are right here inside my Vault client. Okay, BOM management. If you're using a spreadsheet, your CAD data has a bill of material in it, but how are we getting that to purchasing? If you're using a spreadsheet or an email or somebody's taking your printed drawings and doing them off, Vault allows for an item and BOM management right inside of your data management system. It can also be connected to an ERP system or purchasing system with some middleware. So anytime that our customers are re-entering data more than once, then that's a non-value added task, and we want you to be successful and make that automated so that you reduce errors and such like that. So, and then the last feature set that's important to me is multi-site scalability. So if I have an office in Tulsa and I have a engineering office in Denver and I maybe have a drafting group in India, I can connect those work groups using Vault two different ways. I can do a full enterprise replication, file store and SQL database, very quick, very backed up, real-time replication in SQL. Or I can do just a file store replication. Maybe I have a small satellite drafting office that has 2 or 3 people in it. I don't want to invest in another SQL. The bandwidth is pretty good. They can use the SQL from my home office, but my files are big. I have these big trucks and they have a lot of parts on them. So I just replicate the file store. So their files are local and SQL controls who has them, and replication happens in the background. So what? What do you get from all this well-managed data? Well, it's critical in developing that connected enterprise strategy. Again, think of that tree. The fruit, the fluff, that's how you create all the drawings. Everybody does that well anymore. But what's the foundation? How do you manage that stuff in the background? So with well-managed data, your information is no longer manual and disconnected. You don't have to hand-deliver printed drawings. You don't have to worry about, the shop having an old copy of a PDF out there that you didn't get, reissued. You don't have to sneakernet those things all around. So everybody's connected using the same set of information. Engineering change orders are not a manual effort. They don't take a million emails. They're handled all in one place with the file connected to it. Other departments such as manufacturing, procurement, quality, they're not going to use the wrong version of design if your data is well managed. They're always going to use the latest version. They're going to see the right file at the right time for their job. And then bombs or other lists. We don't want to have all these lists and all these unmanaged Excel files. We want to have them connected to our CAD systems or our CAD data, and we don't want to re-enter them, and we want to be able to link that to peripheral systems. So if you have to exchange a bunch of product information between disparate systems such as purchasing or sales or marketing, then we can connect all those. But again, the foundation is that basis of your engineering data being well managed. So with that, I'm going to open the floor for questions. And since I'm re-recording this webinar, we won't have any questions. So for more information, hit our website. We have a toll-free number there, or hit us up on the web at info@teamd3.com or at any of the social media sites. Thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it, and have a great day.